I believe that smaller schools in the Ontario region, which require a higher admission average for the business program, will have the largest tuition rate. Hi guys, my name's Jenna, and today we'll be talking to you about the university undergraduate business tuitions and the factors that affect it. For my research, I used stratified sampling in which universities were broken down into 4 regions and a random sample of universities was chosen from each region. I think that the admission average affects tuition because of the higher level of education you will receive with better professors. I think that population and size of the school matters, as the smaller the classes, the more one-on-one teaching you can get. Finally, I think that the location is a huge factor for its tuition, as a region such as Ottawa is bilingual versus the East Coast, which does not offer as much. To start, let's look at some of the one-variable graphs. This stem and leaf plot shows the admission averages for the universities. As you can see, the interquartile range of the data is 14. This means that there's a 14% range of the middle half of the data between 71 and 85%. The median admission average would be 80%. However, the schools that I predict would have a larger tuition would be the 6% of the schools in Canada that require a 90+ admission average. This pie chart shows the division of the university regions. The Ontario region has the most amount of schools, making it the mode with 32%. I believe this because of its larger attraction. The range for this graph is between 13 and 32%, with 32% of the schools being located in Ontario, 29% located in the Western region, 26% located in the Atlantic region, and 13% are in the Quebec region. You can also see that the ratio of schools located in the Atlantic region to the Quebec region is 2:1, meaning it has doubled the amount but not as much as Ontario. Alright, now let's see how much you remember. What percentage of universities were in the Ontario region? The answer is 32%. The school population size can be seen in this box plot. The median value of students in total is 22,080. The interquartile range would be 23,462, which is the middle 50% of the data between 34,100 and 10,638 students. The school with the maximum amount of students would have 74,760 and would also be the outlier. The school with the minimum value of students would be 2,260, which is a 72,500 student difference. That being said, the schools with the smaller population on the left are the ones that I predict have a larger tuition rate. This is a bar graph showing first-year business tuition. The mean is around $6,063, which also falls in between the intervals of $5,000 and $7,500. The IQR for this graph has a $919 range for the middle half of the data. The MODA interval in this graph shows 81% of the university's tuition, around $5,000 to $7,500 again. However, I predict that the 3% between the intervals of $12,500 and $15,000 are located in Ontario and have a smaller school population size. Next question. What did the box plot just display? It displayed the school population. Next, we have the two-variable graphs. Region versus tuition box plot. The overall trend in this box plot shows that the West and East Coast are in the middle range. The Ontario has the highest tuition with $14,848, and Quebec is the lowest. The IQR for all the regions in relation to the tuition would be a $919 difference. The data displayed in the box plot helps support my thesis in which Ontario is the region that has the highest tuition. School population versus tuition scatter plot. This scatter plot shows a little to virtually no correlation, which can be seen from the R value being 0.06 and the R squared value being 0.0037. 3.7% of the variation of the university's tuition is due to variation from the school population. The line of best fit shows a slightly positive line through the data points, which means as the school population goes up, the tuition slightly goes up as well, which refuses my thesis. Last question. Which region had the lowest tuition? That would be the Quebec region. Admission average versus tuition scatter plot. The coefficient of correlation is approximately 0.36, which means that there is a weak positive correlation. 13% of the variation of the tuition is due to the variation in the grade average. This also means that as the average mark needed to get into the business program goes up, so does the tuition, which supports my thesis. Lastly, the median admission average would be $6,047, so the schools with larger tuition rates would be the programs located in a smaller school in Ontario with a higher admission average. In conclusion, the statements that were correct about my thesis were that Ontario is the region which has the highest tuition rate, and schools that have a higher tuition require a higher admission average. The part I was wrong with was the school size, because in fact larger schools will have a higher tuition rate rather than smaller schools. This could be because there's more facilities and programs in larger schools, making the tuition higher for the school to support its funds. It's also clearly seen that the outlier was Queens most of the time. Overall, my thesis was mostly true with one exception. Thank you for watching, guys, and hopefully you learned something new from my presentation.